It's my pleasure now to introduce our next speaker. That's Ton van der Hoeve from Shell. Tom is an Innovation Analyst responsible for digital realties, and he's going to explain what that involves. He's been at Shell a long time, 36 years, most of it in upstream in almost every location in Shell, from offshore to Iraq and beyond. And he's worked in logistics, IT, collaboration, innovation, currently in this group called Digitalization of Emerging Technologies. He's also the Global Product Manager for RealWear at Shell. So welcome and thank you for coming, Ton.
Thank you. It was a bit of a surprise, actually. I was curious who was next, but it was me, actually. So, I guess my presentation is there. Yes. Yep. Let me see. That all works. You never know. Yes, it is. I'm here to share something about our rollout, not without introducing myself a little bit more. I'm with Digital Realities, that is responsible for de-risking, but also bringing in service AR and VR, so virtual reality is one of them as well. Augmented reality is done by the RealWear, and we've been busy for that well, I would say the last 7-8 months. My story will go a little bit about the adoption curve, for solutions to look like, use cases and future use cases, but I think it's really important because we've seen some beautiful stories here, but we've made some mistakes as well. So let's be totally honest on that. It's not easy to roll something out like this. And there are some useful hints, tips and use cases that are already shared here and how to do that. And I already learned something today. I've seen some things we did not do. So it's really important to have a lot of learning today of the things we did not do. So our first demonstration was in March 2017. It was at Pernis. We were not fully, we were still in innovation. Currently we are in digitalization. And we heard about this demonstration, and it was done by mobility that time. Something we were not into. It was a part of our group. And mobility showed that to the rest of some people in Shell. We made some pilots available. And the ATEX came available in 2018, and that drew our attention because in Shell, especially in upstream, we have a lot of ATEX areas to do this stuff. There's a lot of glasses around, there's a lot of hardware around, but not many of them have ATEX, or I should say maybe none of them. Only the RealWear has that. So that drew our attention. In Shell, the RealWear hardware was accepted in 2019. We changed to emerging technologies, I should say, in digitalization. Michael Kaldenbach, who is in the room here as well, made this into a service. And I can tell you, in Shell, that is not an easy job to create a new service. We are a big company. We have a lot of users. We have a lot of people that have digitalization on the agenda. And these users are sometimes interested, sometimes not interested at all, but many of them are not the end users, and I think that's where we, as emerging technology, went a little bit wrong because we thought there was a lot of pull, but it was not of users, it was of a layer in between of people that wanted to bring this into the business. So we are on almost 2 years of introducing this technology in Shell, and we have about 60, 70 devices into the company. That's not a lot. And why not? A lot of these companies will try one first. We did not have our business cases sorted out quite to the detail. For us it was like emerging technology, a no-brainer. Over-the-shoulder coaching, remote assistance. You would want to have this always. But it's the real business cases that make it work, as we find out later. We have pilots going on at this moment in Nigeria, Germany, China, Singapore, Malaysia, Qatar, the US. It's quite a widespread. Again, it's all about one or two pieces, a company or a location. We have Honeywell as a global partner, for deployment and support. Honeywell delivers some other possibilities on this RealWear that makes it really interesting, especially where we have the problems in rolling this out. Connectivity is one of them, and I think you can agree on this. Not everywhere on our locations we have a widespread of Wi-Fi or 4G or maybe 3G. Honeywell has some applications that work really good for capturing knowledge, and we captured some attention of pilot users going, yeah, we have this guy in the location, and I think you were talking about that old guy that knows everything about everything. He feels on a pipe if it's warm or not. It's not in the instructions, but he does it daily. It's that kind of knowledge you want to capture, and it's that kind of knowledge you can capture offline, but also play back in the field again via the cloud, and capture that knowledge, but spread that knowledge. There's a high fluctuation of workers in Shell, going in and out, and the knowledge is captured really, well, badly, most of the time on paper. You want to have some kind of procedures you want to capture in the field, in your materials, and play it back in your own field, so it's really recognizable. So we have a lot of end users. We have a tool called Servers Now that deploys that RealWear. It's on there. You can order it in the form of remote assistance. It is purchased through Honeywell and deployed throughout Honeywell. It's a global partner, and they can deliver this RealWear anywhere. Again, the challenges, the adoption by user. And like we're standing here, we say, well, it's voice control, hands-free, that's great. Indeed, that's great. But a lot of these users in the field do not have an Alexa or a Google device at home. They have no clue what voice control is. In fact, they don't trust it. They shout once, as I see, it does not work. It's really hard to. They doubt if they can use this in an engine environment. And we say, yes, you can. And then they try it and it does not work. See, it does not work. They don't trust the voice that comes out of the device. It's easy stuff like this. Voice control is easily said and done. It's not an easy thing to convince your users about. We've got a lot of complaints about the screen. It's too small. And we say, come on, adjust it to your face. Adjust it to your own helmet, to your own usage. Don't underestimate the fact that the fitting of the device is almost half of your adoption. Because if people don't like it, they will chuck it away, guaranteed. And you have to make time for this, and we didn't. So we have seen with hindsight that we should have made some more time of making this digital product fit to the person. What they do typically with one device is they want to test it out in the whole field, and then everybody has to adopt it to his own face. That takes about 30 minutes. I've worn the device a lot. It took me, I think, 2 hours to get used to it. If you chuck it into the field and say, go around with this for 5 minutes, it does not work. You need to go around with this device for half a day, and then you get a kind of the idea of it. And needless to say, connectivity is quite an issue in the locations we have. We work offshore, upstream. We work on locations, I should say, in the middle of nowhere, where local Wi-Fi we don't have, because it's very expensive to do in a location like that. 4G we don't have, maybe 3G. Creating your own hotspot would be the solution, but it deteriorates the signal, and you will have a breakdancing kind of remote assistance at the other end. Not really good for confidence. So we're really cautious of the things you're doing and where you're doing it. Test it out thoroughly. Well, it is. We have called it in Shell. It's a good use case to call it ARAS, to have a short name of it, and expect it to have some more solutions for the end user in the future. So, to overcome that first connectivity issue, we said we have something like video assist, and I already touched upon it, capturing knowledge in the field by procedures and playing it back step by step. So recording it step by step, not letting the user download videos on their own PC, have a video editor to edit something together in a usable story and play it back. No, you record the procedure step by step, and you play it back on the same helmet on the same location. We see this as an even bigger uptake than the remote assistance. We're also looking at mobilizer playback procedures that you can also play back step by step instead of paper. So we already see we see the device as a Swiss Army knife. We roll it out with remote assistance and over-the-shoulder coaching, which is okay, but we roll out more applications as we go. Nice story in a location. We had one device as testing, a big location. I won't name the location because it's a funny story. They bought the thing and says, great, we have connectivity, we walk around, and for a long time we did not hear anything. Go, well, is this going all right? Or so we called them up and said, guys, how are you doing this with this first test device? Oh, it's great. I said, okay, we think that's going good. Remote assistance, over-the-shoulder coaching, fantastic. They said, well, our room suddenly get dark and the guy put on the flashlight and that saved the day. I go, we didn't see that coming. That's quite an expensive flashlight, right? Doesn't care. It saved the day for us. With these use cases, you can say remote coaching, over-the-shoulder coaching, or remote assistance. If that use case doesn't happen, you have nothing to prove, right? And we saw that with the flashlight. We didn't see it coming, but they were wild about it. So, all right, they ordered another 10, so fine. Okay, our use cases in Shell up to now, we use it for inspections in wells, ships and refineries, as well known. Shell is a big company and everywhere. We do it for maintenance and support in manufacturing, refineries and upstream. We are looking at marine for engine inspections because they're changing fuel, the way some kind of fuel types. So the engine inspections need to go up. Where an inspector came along, they can't cope with it anymore, so they have to do it locally. And we're looking in retail for work permits. It's all these kind of type of work where people have to fly in or drive in to perform a task and go back to their office again. This is where the time is, this is where the money is. For the retail, for instance, work permits, they have to write a work permit on a retail station before commencing to work. The guy goes from God knows where, flies in and drives in, signs the work permit, looks around going, yep, that's good, and goes back again. And now you can do it, of course, remotely, and it's accepted live. Nice thing of retail is they're mostly in location with good connectivity, so that helps us a lot, of course. Nice thing that we didn't see coming in the beginning of the rollout was contracting and procurement. They said, wouldn't it be nice to do the remote witnessing of the things we buy? Go, all right, so how does that work? Well, apparently if we buy something, we learned, is that a guy, before we ship it out, comes along and tests or reads in and looks at the equipment and says, yep, send it out. And he flies from everywhere to a factory. And we did some testing with this, and it looks really promising of get that procedure out of the way and just do that live. So by accepting these witnessings of inspectors live by the RealWear device, we can already save a lot of time and a lot of money. So a real surprise that we did not see coming. Other use cases we'll do, you see with some actual live footage here of footage, some pictures. I want to spare you the footage. Hoisting and lifting, we see quite a use case for this. And you might think, yeah, okay, you see here something in the Netherlands, placing a new flare on high altitude. But we have a lot of hoisting and lifting going on. And you know, it's not like the crane here on land. For instance, and to give you a use case example, is you have a crane driver somewhere on a platform and a boat 100 meters lower or away. There's two humans trying to connect the hook to the container, and the crane driver doesn't see it. Now, this went by pure coincidence when Michael and me were testing two helmets in one room. And we noticed that one helmet, helmet A, saw what helmet B saw, and helmet B saw what helmet A saw. And the room saw both. And we go, well, this is interesting. because the crane driver can now see the movements of two people that he doesn't see normally, and person A can see person B, who's usually behind the container, and vice versa. We try to promote this in Shell. We have a whole center of excellence of hoisting and lifting, and they're looking into this. I think it's a real interesting case. Confined spaces, another challenging area. Needless to say that in confined spaces you don't have Wi-Fi or 4G or any connectivity. So I went to a location somewhere in near to New Orleans. We brought a device and we concluded, nope, we cannot bring it into a confined space. Well, we can bring it in, but we cannot play it live. And the thing was, we had an incident somewhere where somebody was in a confined space, and we usually have a guy responsible standing at the hole, at the entry of the confined space. His sole responsibility is that the guy in there is connected to the outside world and be safe. Now the guy was on a ladder, and he fell down. Luckily, he was harnessed and he was secured, like that's a good practice in Shell. But the thing was, his air was pushed out of his lungs. He could not shout for help, and the guy outside was looking around, like, well, that's going okay. He looked, yep, ladder is still there, nobody on the ground, fine. And the guy was hanging there, not able to do anything. Because he could not talk and he could not shout. We got that use case and said, is there something we can do about this? And we said, if we can make the RealWear connected from a confined space, we could have some kind of diving buddy. I don't know if you know recreational divers. You never go in alone. But bringing somebody extra into the confined space is creating risk. So we thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a virtual confined buddy in that space live? So he could always be looked at. So if he falls down, you can already see on the hand signals that something is wrong. Because one of the underestimated things is, if you don't have any sound, you can even do something with hand signals before in front of the camera. We use that quite a lot as well. So we launched the idea, and somebody said, so how do you get Wi-Fi in a confined space? We said, well, why don't we bring out the 4G antenna outside and a clickable Wi-Fi antenna inside, and cross the gap through the manhole and create a Wi-Fi environment. We are testing that this month, so we have got the proof of concept device in our office on the other side here in Amsterdam in STCA. And we're going to test that out, and we think it's really promising to bring in a virtual body for safety. This is one of our most dangerous work we have, and we don't want personnel in confined spaces, but sometimes we have to. In this case, it was the exchange of catalyst, which is a tedious job for a few days in the top of a confined space with 4 to 5 people inside. But we also have cleaning, we also have inspection. You could argue a lot of this stuff could be done by robots, true, but not all. And as long as we send people into these spaces, it would be a nice idea to have them covered by a virtual body. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. A little bit of our use cases, but also it's not all good news. We've been busy 6-7 months rolling this out. We forgot one thing, is to go to our customers, because we have customers too as emerging technology, and sort out the business cases where they want to work on. We said it's a no-brainer. Over-the-shoulder coaching, remote assistant, who doesn't want that? Well, some people say, yeah, we would like that, and then they don't know what to do with it. So now we have to revisit this, these users and explore possibilities again. I'm pretty confident that that will make it, and that we will see an uptake. Just this morning I heard we got an order of another 10 of a location because they believe in it. I believe in it certainly, but it's not easy to explain, and with the connectivity issues we have on our specific locations, there's still a long way to go, but I think it's the way to go. Thank you very much.
So any questions for Ton, or for that matter for Mark, who spoke before Ton? This is a good time. We have a few minutes before the break.
As long as they're easy questions.
One at the back. Ton says easy questions,
easy
but you should ask hard questions.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, my name is Wim Bosch from Lumiot, and we are a connectivity company. And we've done quite some testing on augmented reality equipment. And that's one of the things I had. We actually face that the connectivity is one of the major issues that's failing.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, yeah, we have that. The connectivity on 4G is good. 3G is okay, but we see that the hotspots created by an iPhone or any other phone gives a deteriorating signal or deteriorating bandwidth into the set itself. And we said to RealWear, can we make something with a SIM card inside, or make it a bit more easier? For the ATEX certified devices, that's not easy, because you change provider, KPN or whatever, and then you have to change your SIM card, and that doesn't work in an ATEX device because that's certified to be closed off in these areas where it needs to be very safe to operate. So yeah, our connectivity is quite a thing, where we like 2-3 years maybe thought, why don't we bring our whole location on Wi-Fi? It's a very, very expensive thing with all the hotspots and things to do. That's one. 2, we see 5G coming up, of course. That gives us enough bandwidth and localized 5G maybe to sort that problem for us. Therefore, we also look at the offline capability right now. Yep.
Yeah, clear.
And we're going to hear a little bit about 5G campus networks after the break from Jens Mutschel from Deutsche Telekom. So, good question. But one thing for both of you, actually, I can hopefully give you an idea. This has not been tested, but someone should test it. I believe it ought to be possible to take a portable hotspot with a SIM card inside it, put it in a sealed box, think of Tupperware, if you know what Tupperware is, and make it Zone 2 ATEX compliant. We haven't tested, I don't think it'll make Zone 1, but then you could put that in a Zone 2 area, and it should cover the Zone 1 area. So it's something that I believe needs to be tested, but we think it should work in principle.
We got quite a rough box with a SIM card on the outside. We work together on Cisco on this because they are really interested on this solution as well. And he assured me, well, yeah, we can make this Zone 2 as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Zone 1 is a different story.
Yes, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Not to be arrogant, but been there, did it. We've been building an LTE network on the North Sea, and we just did it with the phones. We've been working with the RealWear. We actually have 5 or 6 of them, and it works with a phone. But you got to understand Wi-Fi. Now, unfortunately, it has been developed in the Netherlands. It's actually the IEEE just gave a nice a plaque for that. But if you adjust the Wi-Fi a little bit on the smartphone, it works.
Yeah,
so I think connectivity is a problem, and it's
not to say that it doesn't work anywhere. We have certain locations it works. Personally witnessed a test up here in the north in Den Helder at the NAM facility, where it didn't work. And if you want to trust this device, you need to trust the connectivity. And if there's still a very difference between locations where 3G gives a good feed and where it doesn't, well, then you have distrust and then it doesn't work. I know the phones, we have them. So yeah, it works. Yeah.
And my former company, Sonum Technologies, is another great one that has an intrinsically safe smartphone that can be turned into a hotspot. So there are different solutions, and definitely come talk to our solutions engineers afterwards. We'd love to talk to you more about that. Any other questions for Ton or for Mark, who's still sitting here at the front? One here at the front.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hi, Ton.
Hi.
My name is Timothy from Heineken, and yeah, we make beer.
Yeah, I love it. I know that. I'm a big customer, man.
Ah, good. Yeah. All right. My question is on the over-the-shoulder coaching that you talked about. So, what sort of damage control have you had to now build up? I'm sure you've built up some kind of structure to help then get back, the people who are we want to use it, but then don't know how. But how have you done it in terms of administration and yeah?
Now the whole thing is we leave that up to the person that kind of wants that service, right? We don't roll our remote over-the-shoulder coaching kind of program where you connect up on. We say to the user, listen, if you have a, like the dentist, or what was it, the toothpaste, we have assembly lines like that as well. We've got, if that stands still, about $100,000 an hour is gone. And so these guys said, well, let's have one, because, if we can save 1 hour, we have more devices already sold for, or the money already in-house. And the nasty thing is, we don't have a real good use case of saying, well, here is where this device saved 100,000 because we were 1 hour online earlier. Here we needed an over-the-shoulder coaching because that helped. And we don't have these solid results. I will tell you another case that we are really looking into is, for instance, a remote doctor. It's a no-brainer that if a doctor that we have on call 24 hours within Shell can look at the patient instead of listen to, yeah, there's a guy laying here, he's bleeding. Yeah, quite a lot. Where? I don't know. And before you know it, show the patient and the doctor will say, move him or don't move him. But there's a fire. Okay, he can make the decision better than you can. In these cases, luckily enough, we don't have that case yet. We don't have seen an emergency like that. But if it happens, it probably will be uptaken so fast that you cannot believe it, because maybe you save a life. But there's not a reason for people to buy it, because we've never done it that way. And do you have a proof? Oh, it's a no-brainer. But yeah, well, we have our procedures. So to answer your question, we don't have a service that says, here's how you operate over-the-shoulder coaching and remote assistance. They have to sort it out themselves. And maybe that's where we're lacking as well. We did some, we forgot some things in our enthusiasm to roll out the thing, because we said, hey man, this is a no-brainer, come on. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are getting quite far down the road with Shell together, but for sure, as I mentioned in my talk, really beginning the process, understanding the motivation, the business case, and the buy-in is I think, the best practice. We have one case in Norway, northern Norway, with some paramedics, where they have HMT-1s in the ambulance. And the average ambulance trip in northern Norway is 3 hours, because of the distances involved. And it turns out that there are different levels of paramedics. So 1, 2, 3, 4. A level 4 paramedic who's highly trained is able to administer morphine to a child. But a level 2 paramedic can't. It's not considered safe. And so there was a case where there was a child and there was a level 2 paramedic. And normally what they would do in that situation is they would send a helicopter. And the helicopter takes 5,000 euros for a helicopter trip. So the level 2 paramedic was able to consult with the HMT-1 to the doctor at the hospital, who was able to coach the level 2 paramedic to safely administer morphine to the child, even though he was only level 2, and avoid the 5,000 euro helicopter trip. And so there's one example, and they're continuing to use the telemedicine. We have some other telemedicine examples. It's not our main market. We're really focused on industry, but somehow customers come to us anyway.
Yeah, for us at Speed, I mean, we are in very remote locations a lot of the time. And the crazy thing is, the doctor that's on duty already has a phone. And the only thing you have to do is give him the app, and he has access to already 10 or more locations where he can help. We just have to take it, maybe to answer your question a little bit more, we have to take it into the procedures to make it happen. And that sometimes we easily forget, because we have other things on our mind as well. But, look at new procedures where you can change this as well. Yeah. Thank you for the question.